The fastest way to sound smarter isn't learning bigger words, it isn't speaking louder, and it definitely isn't talking more. In fact, the people who sound the most intelligent usually say less than everyone else. Have you ever left a conversation thinking, why did I keep talking? Why didn't I just stop? You replay every sentence in your head. You remember the awkward explanations, the unnecessary details, the moment you watched someone's eyes glaze over. Here's the strange part. You knew you were rambling while it was happening, but you couldn't stop. Today I'm going to show you a simple speaking technique called the 3-2-1 speaking trick. It takes less than 5 seconds to use, but once you learn it, people will start listening differently. They'll interrupt you less. They'll remember more of what you say, and you'll finally feel like you're in control of your own words. Most people don't ramble because they have too much to say. They ramble because they're afraid of not saying enough. Think about that for a second. You explain your opinion, then explain it again, then give another example, then apologize, then add one more detail because you're worried they didn't understand, then another because you're worried they misunderstood, until suddenly you've been talking for 3 minutes without taking a breath. Sound familiar? I used to think rambling was a communication problem. It isn't. It's an emotional problem disguised as a communication problem. When you're nervous, your brain tells you that more words equal more safety. If I explain this perfectly, they're like me. If I keep talking, they won't judge me. If I fill every silence, I stay in control. But that's not what actually happens. The more you talk, the more opportunities people have to stop listening. Imagine trying to hit a target with a garden hose. Water sprays everywhere. Now imagine using a laser. Same energy. Different focus. Your words should be lasers, not hoses. I remember talking to someone at an event a few years ago. They asked me a simple question. So, what do you do? Simple question. Simple answer, except I turned it into a 5-minute documentary. I explained my journey, my background, why I started, how it evolved, what I hope to do next. Halfway through, I realized they weren't listening anymore. They were politely smiling while secretly looking for an escape route. That moment stung. Not because they were rude, because I knew exactly what had happened. I confused information with impact. Ever done that? Someone asks where you're from. Instead of saying the city, you explain where the city is, how long you've lived there, why you moved, what your parents do, and somehow end up talking about your childhood dog. How did we even get here? The funny thing is, confident communicators rarely try to prove they're interesting. They trust curiosity to do the work. That's where the first number of the 3-2-1 speaking trick comes in. The 3 stands for 3 sentences. Whenever someone asks you a question, challenge yourself to answer it in no more than 3 clear sentences. Not because longer answers are bad, because short answers create space. Imagine someone asks, how's your new job? Instead of unloading every detail you've experienced over the last 6 months, try this. I'm really enjoying it. It's challenging in the best way, and I'm learning something new every week. Stop. That's it. Notice what happens. If they're interested, they'll ask another question. What kind of work do you do? What makes it challenging? What are you learning? Now the conversation becomes a dance instead of a speech. Most people think being interesting means saying more. Actually, being interesting means leaving room for curiosity. Have you ever watched a movie trailer? It doesn't tell you the whole story. It gives you just enough to make you want more. Become the movie trailer. Not the entire movie in 1 sentence. Now here's the twist. Sometimes 3 sentences still become a mess. Why? Because each sentence is carrying 5 different ideas. That's where the second number comes in. The 2 stands for 2 key ideas. Before you speak, ask yourself one tiny question. If this person only remembers 2 things from what I'm about to say, what should they? Just 2. Not 7, not 12. 2. Let's say you're giving an update in a meeting. Instead of dumping every statistic and every detail you've collected all week, identify the 2 messages that actually matter. Maybe it's this. The project is on schedule, and we need 1 decision before Friday. Everything else is supporting information. This changes everything, because your brain stops trying to organize 20 thoughts at once. Instead, it becomes selective. Think of your mind like a suitcase. You can't pack your entire house. You choose what matters most. Great communicators are incredible packers. Poor communicators try bringing the furniture. Here's something fascinating. Our brains love patterns. When people hear too many unrelated ideas, they mentally check out. But when they hear 1, then 2, they can organize the information effortlessly. You're actually making it easier for people to understand you. And isn't that the whole point? Not to impress people, to connect with them. Now here's where everything changes, because even if you limit yourself to 3 sentences and 2 ideas, there's still one thing that ruins almost every conversation: silence. The 1 stands for 1 pause. 1 intentional pause before you speak. Just 1. It sounds ridiculously simple, because it is. Someone asks you a question. Don't answer immediately. Pause. 1 second, maybe 2. Do you know why this works? Most people aren't responding. They're reacting. The question arrives. Their brain panics. Words explode out before thoughts have even formed. It's like trying to drive before deciding where you're going. The pause interrupts panic. The pause tells your brain, We're safe. The pause tells everyone else, this person thinks before they speak. Isn't that interesting? The exact same answer sounds more intelligent simply because it arrived 1 second later. Imagine two people answering the same question. The first blurts out the answer instantly. The second smiles, pauses briefly, then responds calmly. Who seems more confident? Same words, different timing. Confidence isn't always heard. Sometimes it's felt, and pauses create that feeling. I learned this from watching incredible speakers, not just on stages. In everyday conversations, they never seemed rushed. It was almost like they gave every question a place to land before picking it up. Think about someone you admire, a leader, a mentor, maybe even a friend who always seems composed. Do they rush? Probably not. They're comfortable with silence, because silence isn't empty. It's where confidence lives. Here's another thing nobody tells you. Rambling isn't only exhausting for the listener, it's exhausting for you. Have you noticed how tired you feel after over-explaining? Your brain spends hours replaying everything. Why did I say that? I should have stopped earlier. Did I sound weird? Meanwhile, the other person probably forgot the conversation 10 minutes ago. You become your own harshest audience. The 3-2-1 speaking trick isn't just about sounding better, it's about thinking better. Because when you know you'll only use 3 sentences, you'll naturally search for your strongest ideas. When you know you only want 2 key messages, you'll stop chasing perfection. And when you allow yourself 1 pause, you'll replace anxiety with intention. That's the hidden transformation. You're not changing your vocabulary. You're changing your relationship with speaking. Let's make this practical. Tomorrow, someone is going to ask you a question. Maybe at work, maybe at school, maybe while grabbing coffee. Instead of doing what you've always done, try this, pause, think, answer in 3 sentences. Leave them with 2 memorable ideas, then stop. Yes, stop. Don't rescue the silence. Don't add, does that make sense? Don't apologize. Don't keep talking because nobody responded immediately. Give your words room to breathe. You know what's funny? People often reveal more after you've stopped talking. They'll tell you their opinion. They'll ask another question. They'll become more engaged because you've invited them into the conversation instead of locking them outside while you deliver a monologue. Conversation isn't tennis where one person wins by hitting harder. It's jazz. You listen. You respond. You leave space, you build something together. And here's the irony, the less desperate you are to sound impressive, the more impressive you become. Because calm is memorable, clarity is memorable, confidence is memorable, not endless explanations. I want you to imagine yourself a month from now. You're in a meeting, someone asks for your opinion, you pause, everyone waits, you deliver 3 clear sentences, 2 unforgettable ideas, then you stop. The room stays quiet for a moment. Not because people are confused, because they're thinking, someone nods, another person builds on your point, nobody interrupts, nobody looks away. That's influence, not because you spoke longer, because every word had somewhere to land. Here's what I hope you remember long after this video ends. Your value is not measured by how many words leave your mouth. It's measured by how clearly your message arrives in someone else's mind. You don't need to fill every silence. You don't need to explain every detail. You don't need to earn your place in a conversation by talking non-stop. You already belong there. The next time you feel yourself starting to ramble, don't panic. Just remember 3 numbers, 3 sentences, 2 key ideas, 1 intentional pause. That's it. Simple enough to remember. Powerful enough to change every conversation you have, because the goal was never to speak more. The goal was to make every word count. And once you discover that, you'll realize something surprising. The strongest voice in the room isn't usually the loudest. It's the one that knows exactly when to stop.